What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talk Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So, another shorter show today. Got some football to talk about. Then we're going to head into the weekend. It was Labor Day weekend coming up. First off, there was a massive trade that broke yesterday in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys sent All-Pro pass rusher Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. In return, they get 2 first-round picks, one in 26, one in 27, and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. This is a massive trade. Very rare you have a blockbuster trade in the NFL. You have one of the league's best players get traded. It's not like the NBA where trades, the offseason is filled with blockbuster trades. Throughout the year, we'll get a couple. Baseball, there's so many impactful moves that happen at the deadline. You have like one or two blockbusters every year. Hockey, you have trades all throughout the season. NFL, not a lot of trades happen. This was a bit, not a huge shock, but because he obviously requested a trade, I mean, a feeling he's probably going to get dealt. But just the magnitude of the player, obviously going to the Green Bay Packers of all teams, because obviously Dallas and Green Bay have had a lot of meetings in the postseason over the last even 15 years. So Parsons, I'm not a fan of him personally. I think he's a bit of a diva. He's a little annoying, this podcast. But he's an amazing player. He's one of the 3 best pass rushers in all of football. Going to be 26 years old. He's 26. He's in his prime. He turned 26 in this spring. He's had at least 12 sacks in every season. He's had at least 13 in every season. But last year he missed 4 games with an injury. He had 13 in his rookie year. He had 13 and a half his second year. 2 years ago, had 14, had 12 last year in 13 games. Last year, 12 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Last season for his career. In 4 seasons, he's only missed 4 games in those 4 seasons. 52 and a half sacks, 9 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries. The guy's just a dog. When he was a linebacker his first year or 2 in the NFL, he was good in covers and moved him to full-time defensive end 2 or 3 years ago. He's an absolute beast. Obviously, he's going to the last year of his contract. He's wanted an extension really since last year. But talks have not gone super well. Gary Jones said that they made a couple weeks ago said that they made his offer to his agent, and his agent basically told him to F off. And then Parsons requested a trade. If Jerry kind of sat in his hands for a week or two, and then they started listening to offers, and then this is, I guess, the best offer was. This is an incredible move for the Green Bay Packers. That's a brutal division. Detroit Lions are a really good team. They were in the NFC title game 2 years ago. Would have probably been in the Super Bowl if Dan Campbell didn't, get over aggressive in that game. They won 15 games last year. The Minnesota Vikings last year won 14 games. They are very good. Even the Bears. Bears are going to be the Bears. I get it. And you know how I feel about them. I'm very low on them. But if everything does go, as well as it can, that could be a playoff team as well. The potential issue the quarterback and the coach's side, that is a very strong roster. You look at the quarterbacks. Jared Goff is a good quarterback. Pocket passer. Jordan Love is Jordan Love's their guy, never mind. But you got J.J. McCarthy. He's practically a rookie. Was drafted last year, didn't play because of the knee injury. Young quarterbacks, especially rookies. He's never played a down in the NFL before. They tend to struggle when they face pressure. Jared Goff also struggles when he faces pressure. Caleb Williams when he faces pressure. Struggles mightily last year in his rookie year. He's only going to his second year of the league. So getting pressure on the quarterback is going to be very, very important. Remember that they let go of Jari Alexander. Maybe that weakens their secondary a bit. So if they're going to want to have success defensively, they're going to have to do it by, it's going to start in that front 7 on the defensive line. If getting pressure on the quarterback and Micah Parsons allows them to do so, that would take some pressure off for Sean Gary. Sean Gary is a fine, second pass rusher, can give you 7 or 8 sacks, maybe more than that. I can see him having at least 10 of them now that he's across from Parsons. He can really sell into that role. Luke Van Ness been a bit of a disappointment, first-round pick, but he can kind of settle into his role. So this is a big pickup for the Green Bay Packers. Cost them 2 first-round picks. And Kenny Clark, that's not that big of a loss. He's a three-time Pro Bowler, most recently being only 2 seasons ago in 2023, when he had 44 tackles and 7.5 sacks, two forced fumbles as well. But last year, 37 tackles, just the one sack, two fumble recoveries, two pass defenses. He's still a solid starting defensive tackle, but he is going to be 30 years old this year, and simply it's not almost a no-brainer to give him up for Micah Parsons. Of course, Parsons gets a 4-year, $188 million extension. That's $47 million a year, makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. Just an insane contract. However, he is an amazing player. Uh, Green Bay, I can imagine there's a lot of pressure now. They're in that great division the last 2 years, so they've been a good team 2 years ago. Kind of surprising people when Jordan Love's first year as a starter, trading away Aaron Rodgers. 9-8, you make the playoffs, you upset the Dallas Cowboys in convincing fashion in the wild card round. You had a really close game in the second round against, I don't even remember who it was against 2 years ago. I think it was San Francisco. Jordan Love throws that late interception across his body in late in the fourth quarter. Last year, you win 11 games, you make the playoffs again. Also, you have that crazy good division, so you end up in third place even with 11 wins. You make the playoffs. I believe they won a playoff game again last year, and then you lose in the second round once again. But this is a very good team already. That offense has a lot of nice pieces on it. You obviously draft Matthew Golden in the first round. Jordan Love is good. Defensively, they're already were a pretty solid unit. Now you got Micah Parsons to that defense. I mentioned the pieces on the defensive line, right? They got some other guys there as well. They were a much better unit last year, going from Joe Barry, a defensive coordinator who obviously caught a lot of flack for the job he did in 3 years as the coordinator there, to was Jeff Hafley, who's now his second year as the defensive coordinator there. Another reason they're under a lot of pressure, Matt LaFleur, their head coach, and GM Brian Gutekunst, they have 2 years left on their deal. A longtime team president, Mark Murphy, is stepping down after the season. They're promoting somebody else to be the next president. Remember, the Packers are practically owned by the fans. They're owned by a company. Fans can buy stock in that company. As well, they're like, oh, I own the team. They don't actually own the team. Like, they're not in those rooms making the decisions, but technically they can like buy technically shares in the team technically. So, the team president is, like the head, yes, but top football operations, top guy when it comes to the organization. So the new president is, being promoted within the organization. He was part of the team that hired Matt LaFleur. He was part of the team that negotiated the GM's Gutekunst to bring Gutekunst's recent extension to a bunch of years back. So I was watching the Pat McAfee show a day or two ago. They brought on someone who covers the Green Bay Packers. He said, yes, the guy that's going to be the new president. No, it's with it. It's not an outsider. No, he was part of the group that hired Matt LaFleur. It's part of the group that extended the negotiated Brian Gutekunst's extension. That being said, he's become the new leader of the organization. Anyone's going to want to make their mark. So his prediction was, if the Packers really underperform and were to miss the playoffs, they probably both get fired. If they, lose in the first round, they'll probably buy themselves another year, but probably don't get an extension and are, risk being lame ducks going into the final year of their contracts. If they win at least a playoff game, they probably get contract extension. So this is a big year for the Green Bay Packers. Remember, you already paid the quarterback. You paid Jordan Love, who has not been elite so far. He got that huge deal after only, being a starter for one season. A really strong finish that year. But remember, for half that season, he did not play well. We had people trying to run that guy out of Green Bay. I was never high on him. I was pounding the table saying this guy isn't good. And Jordan Love proved me wrong. He ended up turning into a very solid quarterback. But you already paid the quarterback. You have the Parsons deal. You don't have a ton of financial flexibility. Now you don't have a first-round pick for the next 2 years. So you're kind of pushing your chips into the middle of a table. And look, I think Green Bay has a chance to be really good this year, and I think this trade makes them a Super Bowl contender. But they definitely put a lot of pressure on them, as Micah Parsons is now a Green Bay Packer from the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I didn't think they were going very far this year. They won what, 7 games last year? I'm going to do my NFC East preview very, very shortly, but today, but I didn't have a ton of like expectations for them. Okay, I'm going to get into that in a few minutes, but now you have basically no shot. I mean, you get 2 1s and the fine player for a guy who didn't want to be there, and at the very best case scenario, was going to leave for nothing after the season. You also trade your best player, arguably the best defensive player in the entire league, in his prime for 2 first-round picks that are going to be late first round because Green Bay is going to win a bunch of games this year, and I assume next year as well. And then average starting defensive tackle who's going to be 30 years old. Just I don't know what they're doing. Jerry Jones, he needs to hire a GM. He's gone senile. He's 82 years old. I don't think he even cares anymore. I'll say that. I said this before. He's a fantastic businessman. Well, I don't know the number that he blew up with team for, but they're now the richest franchise in sports. It's not even particularly close. Certainly isn't close in the NFL. So great businessman. As an NFL executive, he's absolutely clueless. And kind of always has been. But he made the one Herschel Walker trade. The Vikings severely overpaid for him, which got them that dynasty. They win 3 Super Bowls. Since then, they've done nothing. They have, 4 playoff wins since 1996? That was 29 years ago. They haven't been to the NFC Championship in 30 years. Haven't appeared in one. Haven't had a second round in 30 years. It's getting ridiculous at this point for them. And now I don't expect how they're going to make many stops defensively. And also, this is a self-induced problem by Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. They could have extended him last year for even less money. And they get it. You don't want to, pay a guy to be the highest paid, one of the highest paid players in the league, highest paid non-quarterback ever. If you're gonna go 8-9, extending him wouldn't, make the team better. But you went from a team like, right, maybe they can get into the playoffs. Maybe. I get making the playoffs doesn't mean a whole lot for the Dallas Cowboys at this point. That you want to go on a deep run, but you'd be better off making it than you're staring a pretty bad season in the face now. So for them, this was probably most you were going to get for him, but again, we shouldn't have even got to this point in the first place. So not sure what's going on in Dallas. Before we get to a couple of division previews, surprising roster cut. The New England Patriots let go of Jabrill Peppers. Peppers is still guaranteed $4.3 million. He's been on the Patriots the last 3 years. 2 years ago, had a very strong year. 78 tackles, 2 picks, 8 pass defenses, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Also had a sack. Last year, only played 6 games because of injuries. Was playing well before he got hurt. Had 40 tackles, near 7, 2 pass defenses, and a forced fumble before getting hurt. He has become one of the elite coverage safeties in the game. And the fact that he was just let go is pretty shocking, especially considering that they were considering trading Kyle Duggar away. Some people thought, could he get cut? He ended up not getting traded. At least not at this moment. I assume that's all the team now with Peppers getting let go. This is a guy who was, over the last 2 years, has been the team's starting safety. He took over as a starting safety 3 seasons ago, late in the season, and it's been one of their better players defensively. I'm a bit shocked that he did that. He was let go, especially with almost $4.5 million guaranteed left on his deal. Granted, the Patriots have almost $60 million left in cap space. They have a ton of cap space. Maybe if you thought, all right, we don't want him on the roster, they can afford to eat the money. But I don't understand why he was let go. He's a good player. He's going to be 30 this year, so I'd assume he doesn't have much trouble finding work. The Giants are a little weak at safety. Could they bring him back? He played there from 2019 to 2021 for 3 years. Had a pretty good tenure there. See what happens. But Jabrill Pepper is let go by the New England Patriots. And with that, let's get to my NFC East preview. Came to go division by division. I'm going to do the East and the North and the NFC today. Planning to Monday or Tuesday finish up these previews. and then maybe we'll do some awards picks, Super Bowl picks, and stuff like that. And at that point, and then Wednesday, Thursday, season starts. We'll be getting into some game picks, like I mentioned yesterday. But MC East, in first place, I just filled up the Eagles to the defending Super Bowl champs. Look, the NFC's had a different division winner every year for the last, 20 years, 20 some odd years. The last 2 years, I've gotten burned doing this. And I've picked the division winner to repeat. I just didn't see a world where that couldn't happen. But and I got burned. So I was strongly considering picking Washington to win the division. However, Washington screams like a team that I think is a playoff team, but I have a hard time seeing them being as good as certainly better than they were last year. One, they had 13 wins last year. We're in the NFC Championship. It's hard to get much better than that. Second of all, we see this all the time. Something like Houston Texans last year. Young team, really bad organization, historically bad, have been, very bad for a long time. No expectations, especially Washington, just has recently new ownership, new regime, rookie quarterback, young roster. They come out of nowhere. They win a lot of games. They have a really good season, make a couple of moves in free agency. Now, all of a sudden, expectations are on. Everyone is expecting them to take that next step and be a legit contender. And sometimes, whether it's, falling under the pressure and then being a bit overhyped, they kind of regress a little bit or don't take that big step forward. Maybe they're just as good, but not don't get any better, or they regress a little bit. And then year 3 is when really, okay, now we can really figure out what this team's going to be and what this team really needs. So I don't see how Washington would be any better. I think they would get a little bit worse before they're going to get a little bit better. It's usually how it works in the NFL. So I have them taking, at least from a win-loss record perspective, a slight step back. They still could, being in the NFC Championship isn't completely out of the realm for Washington. I wouldn't bet it, but it's not wouldn't be a complete flabbergasting surprise. But I do have to use it at 12-5, winning the division. Again, look, the offense, they're bringing back the same group. You have all pros all across the offensive line with Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson is still over there. Jordan Malina. You do lose Micah Beckton, who had a good year last year playing guard. Moved him to guard after a really rough tenure after being a first-round pick as a tackle by the Jets out of, I think it was Louisville a few years ago. But I still think they have one of the 5 best offensive lines in all of football. They have the best offensive line coach in the game over there. There are still 3 all-pros on the offensive line. I think they will be just fine. Saquon Barkley, he may not run for 2,000 yards again and almost break a record, but I still think he's going to be a beast. A.J. Brown is one of the best receivers in the league, arguably top 5. Devonta Smith is really good. Gollard's a good tight end. Some injury concerns, but when he's healthy, he's very good. Parsons is a good quarterback, wins you a lot of games, good leader. Defensively, you do lose Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, who were very good last year on my defensive line. We're great in the playoffs. We're great in that Super Bowl against Kansas City. But still, I think they sent away Bryce Huff after realizing, we kind of overpay this guy. But remember, you've drafted a lot of front 7 defensive players, in the last couple of years. Jim Carter is a great player. Jordan Davis, his buddy from Georgia, their other buddy from Georgia. Of course, they love Georgia defenders. Nolan Smith. This guy hasn't really gotten the chance yet. He has a chance to step up. So I think they're going to be fine. I don't think it'll be quite the same. They may not have the best front 7 in the NFL, but even in the NFL, they have one of the better ones. They still have good depth. There's still a lot of talent over there. To really get in defensively. You have 2 really young corners, like I mentioned, Cooper DeJean, who were both great as rookies last year. Even with letting go of Slay and Bradford, I think they'll be fine. Trading away Gardner Johnson. So this is still a great team. It's still one of the best teams in the league. Will they repeat? I don't know about that. But Philadelphia Eagles, I still think they're a really good team. 12-5 to win the division. Commanders, I have them going 11-6. Still a really good team. Jane Daniels had an amazing rookie year. I think he's a stud. And get the deal with Terry McLaurin. I see this team taking a small step back. I love the Larry Tunsil trade. Getting an all-pro left tackle is going to be very helpful. It should improve the offensive line, which definitely need a lot of work. But you trade away your starting back Brian Robinson a week or two ago. You're relying on this kid you just drafted to take over the reins. Who, granted, I think the kid's very good. Uh, Ja'Cory Cross, whatever his name is. But still a rookie that you're relying on. Deebo Samuel as number two receiver. Not much risk in that trade giving up the fourth round pick. But I don't know what the guy has left. He's been declining for a couple of years. A lot of injuries. 30 years old. You do resign Zach Ertz defensively. They were a bit of a work in progress last year. Maybe another year in the Dan Quinn system will be helpful, but also, going from Jonathan Allen to Javon Kinlaw at the tackle is a downgrade. I think they did a ton to really add to it. So I have them taking a small step back, and I'll say Washington does just that. But they're still a good team, 11-6. Third place, I have the Dallas Cowboys. I have them going 6-11. This team isn't good. Dak Prescott's overrated. We've been through this. He's a fine starting quarterback, an average star, decent starting quarterback, but whenever he plays good teams, he crumbles. He's terrible in the playoffs. He's a game manager, average star, nothing more. You lost Rico Data, who's one of the more efficient runners in the league down the stretch. You have Devontae Williams, who's not very good. I don't think the starting back completely. Not third down back. You draft Jadon Blue in the fifth round. Maybe he could be something, but I could see him taking over the backfield down the stretch, but I don't expect their running game to be a whole lot better than it was last year. Miles Sanders isn't very good. Another guy just not a three down back. Lamb's a stud. You bring in George Pickens. I think George Pickens is very good. I think he fits better as a wide receiver 2 than wide receiver 1. You should have a lot of favorable coverages with CeeDee Lamb there. Also a lot to deal with. And just defensively, they have nothing. They have nothing. You re-sign the guy Oga, can't pronounce his last name at D tackle. He's a good player. Now you trade away Parsons. With Kenny Clark in the middle. They already struggled against the run last year. I don't expect that to get any better. The secondary, Trevon Diggs is very good ball hawker, but he's not the best cover corner in the world. He's also very injury prone. Same thing with De'Aaron Bland. So, and you have a rookie head coach with Brian Schottenheimer, who I don't think is qualified for the job. That was a shocking hire. The guy hasn't called plays for anybody in 3 or 4 years. Hasn't called plays to ever. Mike McCarthy called the plays the last 2 years. And you promote him to head coach. It's just a mind-boggling, dumb decision. I don't get it. I don't expect him to be very good. I think they got even worse. This offense they were last year, and they weren't in the playoff too much. They would have 7 wins last year. So I think Dallas, they got a good young offensive line, elite level receiver in CeeDee Lamb, and not a whole lot else, and an overpaid quarterback. That's about all they have. And the Giants have been going 4-13. I think they're going to suck. Like that defense should be very good. Abdul Carter is a stud. You have Lawrence in the middle. Brian Bird was very good. So the defensive line could be very scary with O'Keefe at the linebacker position. This is a very good team. You read Javon Holland say it should be a very good defense. I am expecting a lot out of the defense. That being said, I still am not sold on Brian Daboll as a head coach. He seems, I think he's a good offensive mind, but he just loses the locker room every single year. I assume he's under a ton of pressure, as is the GM Shane. The quarterback Russell Wilson, I don't think the guy has a whole lot left. The demo stretch last year for Pittsburgh, he was really bad. Jameis obviously isn't a starter. Funny guy, but he's a backup. Obviously turnover machine. Draft Jackson Darkwood, they do think could be a pretty good quarterback, but he's not starting right now. They have 2 pretty talented young running backs. Tyrone Tracy had some good moments last year. Overall was pretty good, but some fumbling issues. I like Cam Scatterbo, but he's only a rookie. Mike Neighbors is an incredible talent, but the rest of the receiving core is not very good. The offensive line isn't great. I don't know if Victor Thomas can stay healthy. Evan Neal just blows. And I still don't see how they're going to be able to score many points. As good as that defense is, they're going to get tired out again now. Like they're going to win many games. I can see Dart kind of forcing out there. If Russell Wilson is just really bad, maybe they try Jameis, and Jameis, does what he usually does that first game. He has 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Everyone's like, oh my God, famous Jameis. He says a bunch of funny stuff, and then he has 3 straight games next 3 games he throws 8 picks. You're like, ooh, yeah, this guy is not very good. They kind of rush him out there, so I don't want that to happen. I could see them, starting these first few games. It looks ugly. They're 1-4, and then week 6 when they play that really bad Saints team, they go out there and just bleh. They put Jacksonville out there and it looks ugly. So I have them at 4-2. I have them finishing in last place. Now to the NFC North. So this is probably the toughest division to predict. It's just so loaded. But I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to come out of it. I'm going to say the Green Bay Packers go 12-5. I think Jordan Love's a good quarterback. I don't think he's elite. So he gets overhyped a little bit sometimes, but he's a very good quarterback. But 10 to 12, 13 best signal callers in the league. Josh Jacobs a great running back. He had a great year last year. They have one of the best young offensive lines in the game. Obviously, draft Matthew Golden. He's a speed demon. Jaden Reed's very good. Romeo Dube is good. Tucker Kraft's a really good red zone threat. That's a really, really talented offense Matt LaFleur has. I do believe Matt LaFleur is a good coach. And defensively, adding Parsons, I already talked about this. That's a huge pickup. He's an absolute stud. You also have Rashawn Gary there, Luke Van Ness up front. So much for the secondary is going to look like with Jabrill no longer there, even with his injury concerns and his locker room problems. I think I'm a little concerned over what that looks like, but this should be a really good team. And I'm going 12-5. In second place, I have the Lions. I'm going 10-7. I think you take a small step back. You lose both your coordinators. You go from going from Ben Johnson to John Moore, the offensive coordinator. I think it's a downgrade. Aaron Glenn's the defensive coordinator. And remember, they were going to promote Kelvin Shepard, the D-line coach, but he took the DC job in New England, following his old buddy Mike Vrabel there. So then they promote like the linebacker coach or the DB's coach. So I don't know what that's going to look like. Obviously, if they're healthy, that's going to make a huge difference. Aiden Hutchinson, if he's healthy, he's an absolute dog. He's a stud. Other than that, I think they use a little bit of help off the edge. Alan McNeil's going to miss probably half the year at least, coming up towards the heel late in the season. You do have DJ Reed with the Jets the last few years. He's a very good cover corner. The secondary should be very good. Yeah, maybe the best safety duo in the league with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph was last year the best safety in the league. Brian Branch is very good. Lions, the dude is Cortland Davis, but you bring in Reed. You have who'd you draft last year? Terry Arnold. He's a very talented young corner. But defense is healthy. It should be a very solid unit. Offense is still going to score a lot of points. Jared Goff's a good quarterback. Gibbs is a stud, very explosive. You have David Montgomery there as well. Maybe best running back duo in the league. Amon-Ra is a superstar. Jameson Williams is a great deep threat. Laporta's a good tight end. The offensive line is still good. However, I think losing Frank Ragnow, he retired like middle of training camp, is going to be a huge loss. He's one of the best centers in the game. He plays through injuries every year. He's a very, very tough, great leader. You lose what you're losing on the field and off the field. It's going to be a huge loss for them. So I think their offensive line will progress a little bit, but still a very good unit. Still a lot of talent on that offensive line. Panay Sewell is one of the best right tackles in the game. Terry Decker is one of the best left tackles in the game. So I think they'll be okay, but I'll also trading away Joe and Jackson as well. So I think Young's will take a step back. I think overall they're taking a step back, but Dan Campbell's still a great coach, still a great motivator, obviously. They're still a good team. I expect them to still make the playoffs. I have them going 10-7. I didn't also advise them at 9-8. Look, their roster is really good. It just depends on JJ McCarthy. You bring back Aaron Jones, is still a good back. Justin Jefferson is a superstar. I think the best receiver in football are just ahead of Jamar Chase, so they're clearly the top two. Jordan Addison suspended the first 3 games, but he'll be back week 4. He's a very, very good receiver, great red zone threat. Obviously, because they kind of use Jet as a decoy, and he gets one-on-one coverage all the time. Now bringing back Adam Thielen, like the trade you made a couple days ago, was a very good move for them. He's still a solid receiver. You have Hawkinson healthy at tight end. The offensive line got better. You add Ryan Kelly, then Will Free, you draft Donovan Jackson. So the interior of the offensive line, which was really bad last year, got a lot better. Defensively, you adding Jonathan Allen in the middle of that defensive line with you got the 2 pass rushers. Jonathan Bernard's very good. You drafted Dallas Turner last year. Expect him to only get better. Secondary's the one quarterback team where I have some concerns. You lose Cam Bynum. You still have Harrison Smith, who's still a good safety, but getting older. This is a very good team. Just a little questionable about the secondary. Jared Goff can sling it in Detroit. Jordan Love can sling it in Green Bay. You're going to see them 4 times a year. A weak secondary in that division, not a great recipe for success. I think McCarthy fits really well in Minnesota, but still, he's technically a rookie. It's going to be some growing pains. So maybe a couple of games that maybe you probably should have won, that maybe the inexperience of him comes into play, you end up losing. That could be the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs, not doing playoff predictions right now. I'm not going to say whether I have them in or not. I think I'm still kind of deciding that. But McCarthy is the expectation. I think if McCarthy goes out there and plays well, the Vikings honestly could end up winning the division, and they honestly could be in the Super Bowl. If he struggles, I think he'll cost them a couple of games, and Minnesota could find them on the outside looking in. And I have the Bears at 6-11. Look, the team is better. Well, the offensive line is much better. You had Joe Jackson. You had Joe Thuney, who's really good. You had an excellent center, Drew Dolman. So look, I think Caleb Williams, a lot of the sacks were on him last year, but O-line was a little concerning for sure. I'm not as concerned as people made it out to be, but was still a bad unit. It's a lot better. You do lose Keenan Allen. Surprised they didn't make more effort to re-sign him, but still. DJ Moore is really good. Roman Dunze is really talented. Cole Kmet's a good tight end. You took Colson Loveland this year. He's a really talented tight end. Swift's a good running back. You still have a ton of weapons offensively. It's a very talented defense. You had the guy from the Colts, Deo Obendijo, whatever his last name is. He's a good pass rusher. Everything else we have on defense, a really good young secondary with Jalen Johnson and company in the secondary. Look, you all know what I feel about Caleb Williams. I think he's a flop. I don't think Ben Johnson's going to be a great head coach. Dennis Allen's a coordinator. I don't mind him as a coordinator, but I don't think that's a great fit over there. But and there's overmatched in that division. There's 3 potential really good contenders in that division. They're going to have at least 2 playoff teams. They're just overmatched. Last year they had one division win. They won a meaningless game against Green Bay in the last week of the season. Did they beat Minnesota or Detroit? They didn't beat Detroit. I don't think they beat Minnesota. Minnesota only lost 3 times last year, and I think 2 of them came to the Lions. So I could see that again. They could be staring at 1-5, 2-4 in the division very easily. And if you're going 1-5 in the division, you got to go at least 8 and 3 the rest of the way. I guess outside the division, don't have the schedule in front of me, but that doesn't seem very feasible. So I have the Bears being very bad again and going 6-11. That's all I got for guys today. Enjoy Labor Day weekend. Till next time. So long. Have a great day.